All right, soldiers. What I want to talk to you about today is the reality of things, of what it's like to fall out of that grind mindset, that killer mindset that allows us to achieve our goals. And the reason I'm describing it is only because that's what I notice actually gets us guys to go after what we want. To go through the struggles and come back the next day. So it's only really that which pushes you, that hunger that makes you strive for more or strive for greater things. So yeah, that's going to be the topic of today's video. Why we fall out of that discipline and mindset, and then obviously how to get back to it as soon as possible. Now, we face a lot of different battles throughout the course of a year, whether it be in our private life, whether it be in business. And sometimes what happens is that we fall out of track. We lose momentum. And then we find ourselves in a little bit of a slump. We don't really know how to get back into the action, how to get back into that aggressive mode of going for our goals and pushing forward and becoming the people that we want to become. What I'm trying to say is, it's easy to get off track. In fact, it's very easy. All you need is one bad day and you could be back into procrastinating. But to get back out of it, it's a little bit of a different story. Now, before I go deeper into how to get back into that killer mindset, I want to talk a little bit about why things happen the way they happen. Now, I think it's totally normal to lose momentum, to lose a little bit of that spark that maybe got into you once you started going for some sort of a goal. So I don't want you to judge yourself and beat yourself down, because that's not really going to help you. The reason we fall out of track sometimes is, I think, because of normal human energy levels that we have that just get spent. What I mean by human energy levels, I don't necessarily mean physical energy levels, even though those count as well. What I mostly mean is emotional energy levels. Because when you're going for something, and especially if you're a beginner, you're going to lose most of the time. And that's normal. But the perception that you maybe had before going into something is sometimes or oftentimes a whole lot different to the reality of things. In fact, losing or not getting what you want, especially in the beginning, is more than normal. I mean, even when you do become better, you're still going to lose. But in those early stages, it's easy to look at what you're doing and make too quick of a judgment that you're not doing well. And that oftentimes impacts your mental and emotional state, and you get lost. And when you get lost, you fall out of track, right? You stop doing what you need to do, and you're nowhere. It's really that simple. Most of humanity and the human race is regular. So you have regular energy levels. And for the goals you're trying to achieve, you probably need higher energy levels in all matters, physical, mental, emotional. And what we often forget is that it's possible to build up to those energy levels, but they're more than likely not going to be there from the very start. And so we end up blaming ourselves for our natural settings. And again, that doesn't do any good, because then one bad thing leads to another, and before you know it, you're on your couch, eating Nutella, watching How I Met Your Mother, and crying, and telling yourself that you were never really that good in the first place. You never really had a chance in the first place. So it's really, really dangerous to get into that headspace, because it's very difficult to get yourself out and see the true picture, which is that losing is a crucial part of the game, and that you in fact need it. So rather than seeing it as a stepping stone to grow, you go down in a slumber and beat yourself for being there, and cry, and lose time, and lose even more momentum, and getting backtracked. And overall, being in a very, very difficult place that's not even real or useful. So how in the world, brother, do we A, avoid this place to begin with, or B, get back on track in the fastest way possible? Alright, so A, remember, losing is a must. It is the cornerstone of everything and anything great anyone in this world has ever built. you must lose. You must lose. And you must go through it. Now, it's very difficult not to get yourself emotionally attached to the end result, but it's one of the skills you must acquire on this path you chose. It is not the result that defines a man, but the man that defines the result. So when going through a difficult period, the only solution is going through the difficult period. Now, a few things you can do to regain perspective are cold showers, walks, and planned free days. You don't go on a free day without it being planned, because you don't react off of your feelings, but rather logic and reason. So when you're in your head thinking, oh, is this worth it? You have to try and stop being a little bitch and regain some perspective. Take a cold shower, go for a walk, disconnect for a little while, and you will regain your perspective. You got it. All right, and now for the brothers that are in that slump. You have a more difficult job, but it's far from impossible. All right, so what you have to do is not trust yourself for a little while. What I mean by that is all the actions that are required from you to get back into the saddle are going to seem unnecessary to your brain. Your brain is going to go back in that comfort mode, and it's going to ask you whether what you're doing is worth it. It's going to ask you, why leave the beauty of comfortable living for pain, maybe humiliation, maybe embarrassment, etc., etc. And guess what? You are that brain. So why would you trust a brain like that? What you have to do is go against yourself for probably as little as 2, maybe 3 weeks, and then things are going to change again. What that means is for 2 weeks, approximately, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, you have to work out when your brain tells you to rest. You have to write when your brain tells you not to. You have to make cold calls when your brain tells you it's humiliating. For a period of 2 to 3 weeks, you have to swim up the river. No questions asked. When I say no questions asked, I mean no questions asked. Because as soon as you start asking questions, you're giving yourself material and ammo to deny those actions that are necessary. And you know they are necessary somewhere deep inside of yourself. But now you're flustered, you're emotional, you're lost. So do not trust yourself for a short period of time. Again, you know what's necessary, no questions asked. And I promise you, you'll get your senses back, but you have to go through that period of motion without thinking about it, just automatics. And then bam, you're where you want to be. And now you're riding the saddle again. Discipline feels normal again. That's it. Right, peoples, let's get back into that motion. We're here to go after what we want, and we'll push until we get it. All right. Love.